The scathing, sardonic, satirical, off-the-wall humor is back with a vengeance in this hilarious new season, Bojack Horseman Season 2. I just finished watching it. I was binge watching it since it came out. 12-episode run. I gotta say, I loved it. Now, I really liked the first season. It kind of caught me by surprise last year. Um, and I would say I like this season maybe just a little bit better. Like, I definitely liked the first season, but I don't know, it took a little bit of time to kind of warm up to it, basically. But this one hits the ground running. It hits the ground running uphill while listening to motivational tapes narrated by George Takei. Um, but you know, it's a whole big story basically that they're going for. So it's really just continuing where we left off. If you recall, the first season was a lot about Bojack's struggles, post fame, trying to get his career back, things like that. Writing the book with the ghostwriter Diane, um, and this one here he is supposedly in a good place in terms of his career. Like he's working on the Secretariat biography film. His childhood hero. His book is a big hit. People are calling his name again, basically. So things are going good, but it's still about his personal struggles and his pursuit of wellness and well-being, things like that. So this season takes some interesting turns, and I think it makes a lot of improvements on the first season and continuing the story. And I'll repeat what I said my previous review, though I don't remember exactly what I said. But if you're a fan of like 90s sitcoms or just like Hollywood satire and stuff like that, this is such a perfect show. It really is. And I'm definitely a fan of those two things. So this really delivers the goods in that sense. Because the weird thing is, I mean, this is a cartoon, obviously, but I think almost like if this were like a live action type of show, type of comedy, dealing with the same kind of stuff, it might be deemed like a little bit too dark here because it's bright and cartoony and there's fucking animals and stuff. Maybe it gets away with it a little bit better, and it kind of adds to the charms. Though it's always kind of weird, like if you watch a show. Like going way back, like Duckman, or something like Family Guy, you're always like, okay, we have these animal characters who have the characteristics of human beings, interacting with other animals, but with other human beings too. And sometimes they have like relationships with the human beings, like Duckman always chasing after big-breasted, busty, beautiful women, and like the dog on Family Guy, he has relationships with like Drew Barrymore or whatever. Weird stuff. And I don't know, because it's a more adult-oriented cartoon, you kind of think about it a little bit more that way. It's like, animals talk like humans in cartoons all the time, and they interact with humans all the time. Like, if you like watch Bugs Bunny and Yosemite Sam or Elmer Fudd, you never really question it. Here you kind of do, and I don't quite know why that is. Maybe because they're not quite in the adult situations. Well, some of the Bugs Bunnies, it gets pretty close to kind of like adult sexual, situation. Like the ones where Bugs Bunny dresses as a sexy woman, and Elmer Fudd's like, "You're very, very pretty." But I don't know. It's just weird, but you get used to it so quick, and you can tell the kind of story that they're trying to go for. And this season, it goes for very well woven arc. Like, of course, like the main arc of this season is BoJack working on the Secretariat movie. But what I think it does really well, and why I think it is a little bit better than the first season, is that they really take advantage of the supporting characters in this season. Um, Main focus first season, definitely BoJack. He's kind of like front and center, but of course, there's a good supporting cast. Here, they give a lot more to do for the supporting characters, and not just that, everything weaves together in a way that makes sense, and that everything kind of comes together, sort of, basically. So we have BoJack working on the Secretariat movie and still kind of battling his personal demons. He's like some mother issues, relationship issues, and just general personal wellness issues and things like that, and trying to get some happiness out of life. But we have that in the other characters too. Like we have, of course. Mr. Peanut Butter, who's Bojack's friend, voiced by Paul F. Tompkins. He was just kind of like the annoying kind of character in the first season, but here he's kind of expanded on a little bit more. He struggles with his career too, and he gets a brand new big show that's kind of interwoven with a plot with Bojack's agent, Amy Sedaris playing Princess Caroline, who's also kind of struggling as an agent. She gets a new client in J.D. Salinger, author of Catcher in the Rye and other books, who has faked his death, is living in seclusion, owning a bicycle shop, but she recruits him to make this great new show, this game show, Celebrities of Hollywood. Do they know anything? What do they know? Let's find out, something like that. So he's the host of that show. Meanwhile, Diane, she's the ghostwriter, consultant on the Secretariat movie, but then she's like, I really want to do something with my life, so she goes to a war-torn country to try and help, and she's trying to, fix her relationship with Mr. Peanut Butter and things like that, so it all kind of interweaves. And meanwhile, we have Todd, voiced by Aaron Paul, who's so good in his supporting role, as kind of like the slacker, kind of clueless idiot on his little adventures too. And there's some really fun stuff that he does, like there's one plot where he's trying to build like a Disneyland for himself, and another plot which is kind of like a funny take on Scientology, where no, they're not really talking about Scientology, they're talking about improv groups. So he gets caught into the seductive world of improv comedy and the cult-like elements of that. But I have to reiterate, they're absolutely not talking about Scientology. So there's that, and there's some funny stuff with him. So, I mean, everything really kind of comes together really well. So I thought, they took advantage of the characters that were kind of more a little bit in the background. They fleshed them out a little bit more, and I thought the voice cast is great work. Aaron Paul, Paul F. Tompkins, Alison Brie, the great and hilarious Alison Brie, and of course Will Arnett, who he can just do this role in his sleep. He's so good in the role of Bojack Horseman. And of course there's a lot of celebrities who kind of stop along the way. There's actually a really interesting subplot with Lisa Kudrow actually voicing this owl who's been in a coma for 30 years. She wakes up and she's an executive for a TV network. So kind of the joke there is like, what if someone was in a coma for this long, but the issues aren't, family issues. The issues aren't political issues. It's specifically, what has this person missed in terms of pop culture? Because that's the focus of their life. So they have some fun with that. And I thought she was a great addition. I thought she might have just done like a one-off episode, but she's actually in it for quite a bit of the season. In fact, maybe if there's like 12 episodes, I think she's in 10. She like comes in pretty early in the game, so she's great, and lots of other great guest stars come and go. I mean, we got people like Henry Winkler, who has one of the funniest guest spots in the show. I won't say much about it, but he delivers a sermon at a funeral that's really, really funny. And Alan Arkin is the one who plays J.D. Salinger, who is fucking brilliant. Alan Arkin, oh my god, he is so funny as J.D. Salinger. He kind of reminds, it's almost like his role in Argo a little bit, like the kind of gruff producer. He's so great. Daniel Radcliffe, I think, I didn't check the credits, but I think he plays himself in it. And there is a huge guest star, one of the biggest rock stars ever, makes a guest appearance, but I won't give away who it is. I don't want to give away the surprise there, but it was awesome to see this guy. And yeah, really funny season. Lots of crazy stuff. Like with this series, I mean, again, maybe because it is a cartoon, they can get away with a little bit more of the satire. Like for example, there's a Scientology stuff. I mean, not the improv group stuff. Definitely not Scientology stuff. And there's a whole plot line with this beloved sitcom star from the olden days, Hank Hippopotamus. He's a hippopotamus, basically. There's a scandal, but they won't say what the scandal is. But it's like very obviously kind of like this Bill Cosby kind of allegory, basically. Where meanwhile there's like this whole peripheral huge news story, but a war-torn country go through genocide. Their leader has been switched with Todd, actually, who looks exactly like him, and all this crazy stuff. and it's kind of funny, like, okay, the media always covers these big scandals, but meanwhile real news is happening, and nobody fucking cares, and that's kind of funny. Well, very funny, I'd say. But and there's just also like kind of like little Easter eggs if you like the '90s sitcom kind of stuff. Like there's one subplot where Todd, this is like the most esoteric thing ever, but he stumbles upon this old prop from this TV show, which is like the machine from Family Matters that Steve Urkel goes into. And remember the episode where, well, there are a few episodes actually. Steve goes into the machine. He comes out as Stefan, as the really cool guy. So he goes into the machine thinking it's really a machine, and he thinks he's coming out cool and things like that. Even in the background in that episode, you see the baby dinosaur from the show Dinosaurs, like not the mama, not the mama. That one, I think it's great. I mean, just such funny stuff. Really, like, I don't know if you do like the '90s sitcom kind of stuff. This is just a gold mine of funny stuff. Not to mention the fucking puns upon puns upon puns in this show. I couldn't believe it. Like so many like animal kind of puns, because there's this whole universe of animals, and so many visual puns and name puns that kind of like sink into animals. So many. I even wrote some down. I want to read out some that I thought were of interest. So we have a lawyer who is a badger, because lawyers are badgers. We have a judge who is an otter. Didn't make sense to me until they had the courtroom scene where they're like, if it pleases your otter. They have a blind bat. They have worker bees, working construction and things like that. Also an elephant who works construction, who's like hidden in the background in one scene, and Bojack and his girlfriend are having an argument. He's like, why aren't we talking about the elephant in the room? The elephant's like, hey now. At a party, there's Jake Gyllenhaal and Maggot Gyllenhaal, who is a maggot. Ouch. There's one scene where they're like looking through an old record collection, and you see Herman's hermit crabs. Not Herman's hermits, Herman's hermit crabs. This is a very esoteric one. They have a news station, MSNBC, but not MSNBC. The letter C, MSNBSEA, because the anchor is a whale. They have a magazine called Manatee Fair. Not Vanity Fair, Manatee Fair. And actually in the background you see like that infamous, the magazine cover with Scarlett Johansson and Keira Knightley and their manatees, which is, I don't know if that's an insult or just kind of funny. Lance Bass is on the show. He plays a bass fish. And one actually pretty clever one. There's a bartender who's a marlin, whose name is Brando. And Marlon Brando. And he's serving drinks. So he's like, Stella! 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 Corona Light. I don't know. Funny, stupid stuff like that. So I don't know. It's a show that, I think if you can appreciate that kind of humor, both like the Hollywood satire kind of humor, the 90s nostalgia sitcoms are so stupid but kind of mean something in a weird kind of way, kind of humor, kind of dark stuff, and ultimately about a character who, while he is a horse, he's trying to make his life better, and he's trying to, make himself a better person and realize what that means to him. And all the character relationships, they're silly stuff, but ultimately you do care for them, which I think is interesting, which is the same deal with the first season, but I think even more effective here. And there are some scenes that are actually kind of moving, which, it takes you by surprise. It really does. And it's just very funny and very entertaining. It was a quick, watch. Give me 12 more immediately, please. I can't wait for the next season, which probably won't be for a while, but I think I have an idea of what the next season will be. Not to give away too much, but they do complete the movie Secretariat, and I think what the next season is going to be like kind of like an Oscar campaign for Bojack, but certain controversies surrounding the movie he might feel compelled to release to the public and things like that. So, I don't know. I'm just very excited to see what comes next, because it's rare to find, a movie kind of, or not movie, a TV show as gutsy as this one. Because again, if it were a live action, I just think it would be considered too dark and too weird. But as a comedy with animals, big fucking horse, BoJack Horseman, I think it triumphs. I think this is a great show. I think it was a great and very funny season. I can't recommend it highly enough. And if you haven't watched the first season, I mean, we're talking 12 episodes apiece. That's easy to get through. Definitely check it out if you're curious at all. If you like comedies, if you like cartoons, if you like just Hollywood kind of satire stuff, I cannot recommend this show highly enough. It's a really great, surprising show. So that's my review of BoJack Horseman Season 2. Thanks so much for watching and listening to me ramble. Be sure to comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. Purchase Willie Nelson's new biography. It's a long story, available where all great books are sold, or on your stupid Kindle thing. Visit Derek237.com for some more reviews. And until next time, I'll see you later.